Hello everyone, welcome to Helix Cloud Games. My name is Richie and this is CloudQuest, a cloud gaming show where we take a deep dive into one particular topic. This week we're talking about, has Microsoft killed Keystone and is Luna coming to the rescue? Joining me in this quest is none other than Mr. Chris.
Hey gamers.
But before we get into it, make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon for notifications when all our great shows go live, such as Talking the PS, where we'll break down all the PlayStation news happening in the clouds every single Tuesday and on podcast services, and our newest show, XPass, every single Monday, replacing Sounds of Stadia. The first episode is live now if you're not a member. It'll be there for Monday if you are a member or a time traveller, where you can check out everything in the green side of gaming in Microsoft xCloud. And our first looks, live streams and everything else we bring you in the clouds. So Chris, Phil Spencer's just dropped a bombshell on cloud gaming.
Yeah, something we all thought was an inevitability for so long. Just straight up coming out at the Wall Street Journal's tech conference and going, not quite ready.
Yeah. It actually goes a little bit beyond that. There's a couple of sentences I said I'll just read word for word to just set the scene for this conversation. So, quoting, Keystone was something that we were incubating internally. Late spring we pivoted to working with Samsung. I still have the prototype, which everyone's seen in the photos. If you haven't, go check them out. We will do a streaming device at some point with a question mark. Will they, won't they? I expect we will, but it's years away. So Keystone was the dongle.
The stick.
Yes, and anyone who knows, who's been with the channel for a while, knows prior to Stadia shutting down and now decisions to buy an Xbox, I was very personally interested in this streaming stick and using that as a way to get into the Xbox ecosystem via cloud gaming. So it kind of sucks that this is going away. I get the partnership with Samsung, but
yeah, there's a couple of things to kind of probably break down and analyse from this. So you're completely right in saying we all just assumed, rightly or wrongly, that Xbox were working on a streaming stick. It made sense because Stadia had the ChromeCast from the very beginning, and it runs fantastic on Chromecast. And then not only that, they branched out into smart
They literally
TVs.
Told us they were doing it.
And then Keystone was kind of like a thing that was rumoured, and we know streaming sticks are not a new thing, but they're definitely, I think, they still make TVs that weren't smart TVs, and I'm curious to know how the market's evolved over the last 2 to 3 years, and probably with Stadia shutting down as well, that the necessity for a streaming stick, maybe it's not all as important to Xbox and Microsoft as we'd once thought, and I think the way the cloud market has evolved and the success they've seen in other channels, which Phil Spencer alludes to during his conference, is it points in success elsewhere that maybe makes them think this isn't an urgent matter for us to focus on right now.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a bit more about the numbers on xCloud and Xbox Games Pass and the Series S and stuff on XPass, so we're not going to dwell on that here. But the thing for me, as someone who's got a bit of an older TV now, it's a fairly solid 1080p TV, but it is a smart TV. But with smart TVs, they tend not to get that much in lifespan in terms of updates, considering how long TVs typically last. You might get a couple of years before the manufacturer just moves on and stops giving you the updates, which means that while my TV is technically a smart TV, it basically might as well not be anymore.
Yeah, there's certainly a window in time, I feel like maybe 5-ish years ago, when smart TVs really embraced having their own operating system. I had a Sony TV for years, and it wasn't a cheap Sony TV, but you're right, it had very rudimental apps, I would say, built into it, but they were never utilised. They were never set up for success on the system. And then, give it a few years, and it basically, a lot of the stuff on it became redundant. But I think about 5 years ago, when Android TV was embraced and all of the, like, LG went out and did WebOS, Samsung did their own thing, and everyone else under the sun, they embraced YouTube. Netflix kind of rode that wave as well. Once you had Netflix on every device, that kind of played into it. And then as we've seen streaming services take off, you can get Spotify now, you can get Disney Plus. You pretty much cannot buy a half-decent TV now, like, that doesn't come with a handful of apps built in or a storefront of some kind. And I think that, tied with the success of Xbox Cloud Gaming and what they've done, as you said, with the Samsung thing, I think that just ramped up the necessity to not really invest that much in a streaming stick for Microsoft when they've got so many other avenues that cost them not that much.
My issue with it though is the Samsung stuff is great, and going forward, it's fantastic. Smart TVs are now no longer your sluggish, horrible experiences. Like, you go, why on earth would you use this? Just buy ChromeCast for 30 quid and just cast everything from your phone. It's a better experience. Now they're decent. But the Samsung stuff with, like, the Samsung Gaming Hub, is it 2021 onwards? Is it 2022?
This year onwards, yeah. I think they did announce they were going to go back and add support for some 2021 models, but then they've been very quiet on that. So I feel like with TV manufacturers, they pump out so many TVs now year on year. It almost seems a waste of R&D or, like, service teams to actually go back and maintain them. Yeah,
I mean, that's the whole problem aside that I actually think typically people don't buy a new TV every single year, so why is the TV industry acting like that? It's not a mobile phone
cycle.
Yeah, it's like,
needs it either.
I think minimum you're probably looking 5 years lifespan on a TV, probably closer to 10 for most people, if not beyond that. Which means that there's a lot of TVs out there that won't be able to play Xbox Cloud Gaming. That is where the dongle has always came in my mind. It's there to bridge the gap. Eventually, it'll become redundant. I actually think a Chromecast in itself, that style of technology, and like Fire Sticks, which we'll get into a bit later in the show, will become redundant in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I agree. As TVs just embrace apps and stuff, I totally think that's the thing.
As I said, not cloud gaming, smart TVs have got to the point now where the experience isn't horrendous. Which is why then, like, why do I need this dongle to put in my back of the TV to give me something I already have?
Yeah, exactly. So if you've got a 2022 Samsung TV, you don't need to invest any more to do cloud gaming because it's just all within the gaming hub.
It's like what happened to the MP3 player when the iPhone came out. It basically it became redundant over a period of a handful of years.
Why have two devices when it can be incorporated into one completely?
Yeah, but I think that'll happen slower with TVs, again, because TVs are bigger and more expensive purchase that people typically don't have just a contract on. And like paying like 30, 40, 50 pounds a month or whatever they pay, and then forget about it and just have that in perpetuity. TVs tend to be a one-off purchase, and you're bloody happy once you finish paying it off, because sometimes it's four figures in terms of how much you're expending. It's like,
I know when I go into the tech shops now and I look and I think like, they look like, some of them, obviously the footage they put on them looks so damn good. It's there to tease you and lure you into like, what could you have? But then realistically, you can get a cracking 4K TV for like up like £400, $400, I reckon, about now.
My problem is I'm too much of a tech enthusiast where like I feel like I'd always have buyer's remorse if I didn't go for the best TV I physically could afford. Like I need to go to, like I couldn't just go, oh yeah, I've got a 4K TV with basic level of HDR. I was like, no, I need to go for shit hot because this is going to last me a decade.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I did with my Sony TV. I think I got a James Bond Blu-ray collection with it, and the Amazing Spider-Man 2 of all random things. That's how old it was. Just to timestamp it. In terms of like the Keystone, though, and what Phil said, obviously, we had that leak just a few weeks ago where it was on his shelf, and a lot of people were surprised that it wasn't actually a stick. It was a miniature Series S Xbox by all means. It was next to a Xbox controller, so for size reference, it was about half the size. Again, for a controller, it wasn't much bigger than that.
I'd argue it was a prototype, but the casing looked custom built for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's like we've seen. This is one of the things that did confuse me a bit. Like, it's like, okay, it's a mini box, which is fine. You can probably hide it away if it doesn't need much way of cooling. But it's like, well, Google managed cloud gaming in just literally maybe like a small puck.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I was thinking, or like the Fire Stick, which is just basically like a USB.
Yeah. But this is when I think Xbox have to approach it differently because of their legacy and what people's expectations are. And I do believe if this, obviously it's a prototype, but if this went to market, I think it makes sense to have Xbox in, like, if you were going to Game or GameStop or Walmart or wherever you're buying it from, and on the shelves in their retail space, Microsoft have the Series X, top of the line, if you want everything bells and whistles, it's there. Then the Series S, which we know is selling gangbusters. We're going to talk about it very much in detail in XPass this week. And then next to that, on the shelf, is also another price chunk down, a little tiny box that does all the same stuff, but it's cloud only. And I think, obviously, we know that a Chromecast in the back of the TV, but I feel like Microsoft, within this prototype model, they were aiming for this to clearly still have a presence under your TV. So as a gamer, as a parent maybe, you can look at it and go, that's an Xbox. It might be dinky, it might be tiny, but it does the same thing. And having that kind of just visual thing, because sometimes I forget my TV even has a Chromecast in it.
Yeah.
It's just, you turn it on and it just works. And that's great, but I think for Xbox, as they bridge that gap, you said many times, Richie, you think they might be looking to phase consoles out in the next generation or two.
Yeah.
I think this is that kind of bridge gap moment where they think, do we just want to commit to a stick that no one's going to see? Or is it worthwhile having a physical box that families and maybe not hardcore gamers will look at and go, all right, yeah, it's an Xbox.
I suppose having a physical box, it also becomes a talking point almost when someone walks past your house and sees that, oh, what's that? Why is that Xbox so small?
Yeah.
And then there's the fact that actually...
Xbox? And like, yeah, it is. It's just a streaming one, though.
It'll have to handle the Bluetooth connection for the current Xbox controllers, where Stadia's controller was Wi-Fi, so it could just use your home Wi-Fi to connect to Google servers directly. So your controller never actually connected to the Chromecast. So there might be a bit more processing on board here.
Yeah. I also think with it, look at this generation, how much people have just embraced no disk drives.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think. Like, we've seen how well, I mean, we're going to talk about it again on XPass, folks. Check out the initial first episode
off to your
XPass.
Off to your left, you have a massive shelf full of absolute tons of games. No, the big one.
Oh, this way, yeah.
Yeah, that way. It's not on camera, but everyone's seen it from the old. If you've been here for a while, you'll seen pretty much the stuff. It's in a different room, but go watch an old Sounds of Stadia. You'll see what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. You have a Series S that doesn't have a disk drive.
I know, crazy. Yeah. And that generational leap that people have just totally embraced. Like, I can get an Xbox, it's cheaper, doesn't take discs, but I'm okay with it. This would have been that next thing. That's an Xbox, doesn't take discs, doesn't even need discs, because guess what? There isn't even an install. It's just a cloud box. And then another generation detached from that, it's just the norm. No one knows about discs anymore. No one cares about discs. Next time, no one cares about hardware. And then before you know it, everything's streamed. And we've been luring to this for the last 91 episodes of this show, I guess, that cloud gaming is, it seems like a bit fragile at the moment. Not everyone understands it. Some people do. It doesn't work for everyone. To be fair, it doesn't even work for us some of the time. That's now. That's not 10 years later down the line, where Microsoft, as a business model, they look at this and go, if we put Keystone out as this little box, is it worth putting it to market? Or can we hold off for a few more years, see how we do with this integrated smart TV launch, and do we just commit to that? Because we might not need it.
Yeah, I think there's probably a couple of reasons. There's probably no singular reason this. One, the deal with Samsung. Like, okay, we've got the deal with Samsung. Cloud gaming is going to go that. As people buy new TVs, they get exposed to it. Mm-hmm. Rule number two, we've got lots and lots and lots of Xboxes. Xboxes are selling really well, so we don't want to get in the way of that at the moment.
Yep.
But we want to use this. This is based on my assumption that Xbox want to use this generation to condition players into the cloud. So, we want you to have an Xbox this generation, but during this generation we'll get you using cloud gaming here and there, and it's in beta. It'll probably be in beta for the entire generation, and we'll just slowly improve it, because it's unlike like Stadia or Luna or GeForce Now. Microsoft don't necessarily have to nail cloud gaming just yet.
Yeah, there's no rush.
Because you can have a box.
Yep. And we've seen, I think, was it this week, the article, probably from the same conference, 20 million people have tested out Xbox cloud gaming.
Yeah.
So they might have tested it. It might not have worked
for them,
up, but yeah.
This calendar year, it's increased by 10 million.
That's insane. And like you said, even if it's in beta, people test it and they go, all right, yeah, I can see when I might use this without my console. But then again, 10 years from now, when 5G is better, Wi-Fi infrastructure is better, the streaming technology is better, and they jump back in and go, this is improved. And then next time, they might not need their Xbox. But one thing, I guess, Richie, one of them things that we haven't also considered that probably has factored into it, one of their biggest rivals, according to Phil Spencer, was Google. They just flung in the towel. So that's one of your arguably biggest competitors in this market with, in both of our opinion, probably a lot of our audience's opinion, better tech. Gone.
Yes.
They're not a worry anymore. They're literally cancelled, quit, dead, nada.
I feel
kaput
confident at
January.
this point in time saying objectively Stadia's streaming tech was better than Microsoft's.
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced both of them. I've experienced xCloud on PC and on console, and Stadia's was more stable with less artifacts.
Yeah, same for me. And there's videos on the channel if you want to go compare and check them out. But to come back to it, if one of your biggest competitors just throws in the towel, you must look at it and go, do we even need to invest in a stick then? Or anything? Again, they've just arguably won part of the cloud gaming race without having to do anything because the competitor just fell over, broke his ankle, and died on the track.
I was just about to say, I wouldn't say Microsoft won this battle. It's more that Google lost it.
Yeah, this race is still going, but like I said, that guy fell over, broke his
Stadia
ankle, dead.
Has got absolutely nothing to do with Microsoft. Like it wasn't like they were making moves that put Google out of business. It's like Google just did not do what they needed to do to back the platform, in my opinion.
And there is 160 episodes of the Sounds of Stadia podcasts breaking down week on week how that demise came about, if you do want to backtrack.
Yes, if you're very sadistic and you want to actually just experience the free death of Google Stadia, there's some highs in there. There's quite a lot of highs, actually. But if you want to experience it, start episode 1. It'll take you probably about 200 hours.
Look how much we've aged.
But people play video games for longer than that. Go watch every single episode of Sounds of Stadia.
It'll be retro at some point, Richard.
That's your homework.
But your homework. But yeah, so in terms of this, it's interesting that they would again, it's not being cancelled. That's what we should say. Is Phil clarifies that in spring they pivoted to work with Samsung, so it sounds like that deal was only arranged this year, and they've probably seen some good metrics off the back of it that have suggested that actually people are quite happy with playing Xbox via their TV. And then the prototypes exist. We know the tech works because we use it. We literally did the stream this past week using Xbox Cloud Gaming. So as you said, it's more just iterative things within the beta period to a point where maybe next generation cloud gaming is one of the top selling points of the next Xbox. But at this point, we've seen with how much success they've seen with the X and the S, they don't really need to worry too much right now, especially when arguably their two biggest competitors, Nintendo and Sony, are not messing around with this technology at all. They couldn't give two shits by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the next generation of Xbox, you would still have your box and the TV, potentially even dual consoles like you have now with the X and S.
Yeah.
But there'll be a big marketing push going, play Xbox on the go wherever you are through cloud best-in-class cloud gaming, and that's the focus. So they're not going to, this generation is about nailing cloud gaming, getting it right and getting people on board. So it's like for next generation, we can push it as a selling point rather than like a quirky feature that you also get.
Absolutely. And remember, Phil had, at one of the Xbox conferences this past year, he had that ecosystem diagram that said that you, the customer, were at the middle of the ecosystem, and in every quadrant it had phones and tablets, console, PC, the Microsoft Store, and it was all linked in through Game Pass as well, and just showing you that Xbox isn't a platform necessarily, it's an ecosystem now, And every big tech company's trying to do this. Google tried to do it, and they still are with many things. Apple do it fantastically. Samsung are trying to do it. Like Bixby, anyone? Any Samsung users out there? Bixby, your best friend that you never use? They're all at it, and obviously some are going to die along the way, but the biggest ones will succeed. And Xbox are definitely because they came last generation. They've been the underdog for a full generation now, and that we've seen it. That's forced their hand. They've had to invest. They've had to think dynamically and differently. And out of those ashes, we've got Game Pass. We've got streaming technology. We've got this ecosystem across PC and console, and now cloud. And as people who've just got into the ecosystem, we've been kind of watching from the sidelines for 3 years. In the Stadia camp, going like, oh yeah, the tech's great, it runs fantastic, and then slowly but surely, Microsoft have done more great things, and now looking at those numbers of sales for X and S, they're knocking at Sony's door, they're knocking on Switch's door, and it's great for the industry because you've got 3 behemoths now, all doing wonderful things, all sales numbers through the metrics through the roof, and we're just riding that wave of games and content, Richie. It's a great time to be a gamer.
It is.
With or without a streaming stick.
Before we move on to Luna, there's one more thing I want to bring up on the Xbox front, and it's something we've both benefited from, and it's Xbox All Access. This might be one of the things that makes the streaming stick not make as much sense, because I'm paying at the moment, it's a 2-year commitment, but £21 a month for my Xbox Series S with a controller and Game Pass Ultimate. Not Game Pass just on the Xbox, it gives me Game Pass Ultimate, so the entire PC side of it I have access to. As I said, the only real downside is it is a 2-year commitment that might be difficult for some people to stomach.
I think the way everyone's conditioned now with like phone contracts is 2 years is just like
£21 a month isn't. It's less than I pay for my SIM only contract on my phone.
Yeah. It's mad. And I think you're right in saying that because of the success of the Series S, the Microsoft probably look at the numbers and go, do we want to give people a cheaper option? If they're happy getting in with the Series S at its current price point, why would we give them an alternative that's cheaper when we can make more money by just selling more Series S's?
And the Series X and All Access is sub £30 a month as well. It's not like massively higher.
Mm-hmm. I was tempted, but then I thought, I'm just getting it for the tech enthusiast in me. I have a PS5, I have a PC, I have cloud gaming. I do not need to fork out the extra money. I
had the mental calculations like, I don't actually have a screen that would benefit from the extra power of the X or the S, and plus I intend for this to live in my office. So it needs to kind of fit nicely under a monitor stand. So the S, I checked up the dimensions of the S before I bought it to make sure it would go under.
Oh, nice slot in. Yeah. I'll be honest, I went for the S partially because it fits in with the aesthetic in this room. Everything in here is white. So it's like, it goes really well.
But I'll
tell you one thing, just as a little side note, what I didn't expect. You mentioned Game Pass and PC Ultimate, and that jogged something in my mind. Aside from the things I've been playing on the console and what we've been testing out on cloud gaming, EA Play is also part of it. Like, I've been playing Command & Conquer Remastered this week, which I did not expect to be doing at all. And I saw one of our friends on Twitter tweet out about it. And I replied to him saying, currently, like, immediately installs on PC. And I wasn't joking. I did. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I didn't realise that was on Game Pass. Jumped in,
I haven't explored the PC side of Game Pass yet. It's like, oh, God, there's so many games now I have access to, not enough time.
Yeah. Well, there's a few stories in XPass we'll be talking about this week about big PC titles that I can't wait for early next year. So...
I mean, XPass has already happened, so...
we've discussed it.
Let's move on to the Luna side of the conversation, because we did want to talk about Luna, because now, according to Amazon, you can play a game, I'm reading from their tweet, introducing games on Fire TV. It's just one more way to play Amazon Luna. What games are you playing first?
I'm not, because I live in the UK.
Yep. Me too, but...
You live in the UK?
I do, yeah. I mean...
Never knew that.
I'll probably see you tomorrow.
You will.
Yeah.
But in terms of this, it's a bit of a weird one because Stadia had just the ChromeCast from the get-go. And obviously Amazon Luna is still isolated to the United States. Where you at, Luna? Worldwide, please. But, yeah, again, this is something that we always, I think, just expected to come originally. And then it's finally here. You can now play your games via... a Fire TV stick. I don't know what generations it's available on yet, because I'm sure there's many iterations of said Fire TV stick. But Luna's is available as part of Samsung Gaming Hub, and again, without the console counterpart benefit that Xbox has and PlayStation has, it's nice to see it rolled out. It is titled to some degree as games on Fire TV and not just Luna, even though Luna is in some of the marketing. It does seem to be promoted as games on Fire TV with your Amazon Prime Pass. So there is some kind of like cross-pollination marketing going on.
My suspicions on that is purely just there may be just more than Amazon Luna that you can do with this. You might get Game Pass on there, you might get GeForce Now, etc., etc. I think, but so that's why they're going games on Fire TV. But in all the marketing, it is clearly Luna up front and centre.
Yeah, definitely. But still do more things. Still a couple more rollouts. You can try cloud gaming in more places, and I'm sure there's many, many people who have Fire TV who haven't even thought about it. And we've seen the Luna controllers be on sale multiple times in the United States across the year. So yeah, it's just a matter of time, right, before your Prime delivery package shows up on your doorstep with all that purple sellotape wrapped up around it saying play games on your Fire Stick right now. And then anyone who has an Alexa can tell it to boot up the TV and stream games on Fire TV or Luna.
I'm not going to lie, until I saw this story, I actually assumed it was already there.
I probably would have as well. If you'd have asked me to do a quick breakdown of Luna, I would have described it as a streaming service with cable-like TV channels for games on PC and streaming stick.
Yeah.
And that. Or is Fire TV stick different from a Prime stick, an Amazon stick? I'm Google through and through on my tech, so forgive us if we're wrong. But
I think the Fire TV is like the service, so I think you get Fire TV if you're using a Fire Stick.
So Fire TV is like the Google operating system.
Comments below, let us know.
I'm just thinking now, I'm like, surely Luna's playable on the TV, right? Or it can't just be PC prior to today.
Yeah, this is why I just assumed it would be there.
I mean, again, forgive our naivety, but it's not available in the UK, so we can test it out. We hear dribs and drabs from some of our friends stateside, but I know even our friends, friends in Canada and stuff, don't have it yet without using a proxy email and stuff like that.
We've full disclosure, we've always kept half an eye on Luna, but we haven't paid. We're not like we have been with Stadia and we're now with PlayStation and we are with Xbox, where we're reading every story to cultivate shows. We're not. Our interest in Luna isn't just there yet because we literally can't use the service. Yeah, it's hard to get that invested in the. There's only so much out. There's only so many hours in there. Yeah, we keep an eye on things and the major beats, but mainly is it coming to the UK?
Yeah, definitely. So all in all, then, Richie, interesting to see Keystone shelved, but upon dissection, not a surprise, really.
You know what? If you could get Xbox Cloud Gaming on a Fire Stick, maybe Fire Stick is the solution. You don't need Keystone.
You know what? It could be on a ChromeCast by the end of the year. The way Stadia killed themselves and then immediately started promoting ChromeCasts and other streaming services within weeks. It would not surprise me if Microsoft went round, knocked on the door and went, "Hey Google, you done yourself dirty. How about we team up and we put Game Pass on the Chromecast? That will boost your Chromecast sales tenfold probably. And your Stadia controllers will work with Game Pass still. How's that for a win?"
That would be a nice win for Stadia fans. Like anyone who's got, because at the moment it's like it's largely seems to be between, from what I've seen in the Facebook groups, a combination of Boosteroid, Xbox, and GeForce Now hoovering up the hardcore Stadia fans.
Exactly.
If you can use your controller on Xbox through a Fire Stick, what's a Fire Stick? £30-40. That might be a big pivot for them people to go to Xbox. Plus, you can get Game Pass Ultimate for your first month for £1.
Yep.
There you go, Microsoft.
I'm going to tweet out right now, Richie. Game Pass Xbox on Chromecast, please, Google. Do it.
I think they should. But that's all we have time for this week. If you've liked the video, hit that like button and consider becoming a member for as little as 99p. We can get early access to this very show. If you've got an idea for a topic you want us to discuss, let us know in the comments of the video or in our Discord server. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been Richie.
I've been Chris.
Quest completed.